Nobody went to school for sales. Each of us has our own journey, a journey that ultimately reveals the two opposing forces: the art versus science, the relationships versus the metrics, selling versus sales. What side are you on? This is the Love Selling, Hate Sales podcast.
All right, Jake, welcome to the Love Selling, Hate Sales podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Dude, loving it. I know we're in a little bit of a difficult time right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But you are the CEO of Skaled Consulting.
Yes,
Talk
I
to me a
am.
little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation. You and I always have good conversations.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
for those of you who don't know me, I run what I believe, and I think a lot will attest, like one of the most progressive sales consulting and strategy companies in the world, where, we work with companies that are trying to modernize their sales and, bleeding into kind of the brand marketing as more and more people are kind of, thinking about that component of it. And basically organizations that are trying to think about how do we modernize in times like this, and then how do we build out more repeatable and scalable processes. So a lot of the work that we're doing is coming in and partnering with, executive leadership, frontline teams, and helping both strategically and tactically to get teams, more productive and more scalable.
So it sounds like a perfect fit for the things I like to talk about here, which is a little bit of that dichotomy of selling, what I call selling and sales. I call selling the relationship side of the business, and sales, the metrics and numbers side of the business. So what do you say to a guy like me who loves the relationships, but hates the numbers, but knows that I need to hit the numbers to keep my job?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's interesting. I'm like a weird hybrid, meaning for me, I am super strong on the sales skill side, meaning like, and it's, dude, I'm a student of the game.
Yeah.
I was doing telemarketing in the 2001, grew up in inside sales. So like I cut my teeth on hardcore B2C sales and then grew into like big enterprise deals. So I've got kind of a weird mix, but I always look for shortcuts. I think what a lot of non-numbers guys don't get is like the data gives you shortcuts. And like, I'll tell you a really good story, at least it's my definition of really good, right? So like, I think it's a good story. So I'll tell you a good story about, a situation that I had. My very first job in sports was with the Tampa Bay Rays. And what I quickly realized, they had this inbound phone loop. And in this inbound phone loop, what happened is like, it basically would skip you if you made a call. Right. Okay. Like, and it would go around to the next person. There's still a lot of teams that actually, and like, that's their version of round robin, because hypothetically it should all work out and be fair. Yeah. Well, that's not true, because you can game it. And what I realized is like, so after the first year, I did a scatter plot of all the sales I had and the exact time that they came in inbound. So I counted all my inbound plays, and I found that people consistently between, 11:30 and 11:50, right before lunch, 2:30 and 2:50, nobody was calling in. Nobody. So what did I do? I sat there and did all my administrative stuff and everything until 11. And then I made all my cold calls. Absolutely. And then I sat there again, and then I made all my cold calls again. And what happened is, dude, the loop just kept coming around. I'm like, Tampa Bay Rays, this is Jake. Tampa Bay Rays, this is Jake.
Boom.
And then people got pissed. So everyone on the sales floor is pissed at me, right? There's like 15 people are pissed. I go, guys, look, here's the data. I showed them my scatter plot. This is why I'm doing it. And people still kept calling.
Really?
I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? I'm showing you the data. You're seeing what I'm doing. Right. And it goes back to like, I think it is absolutely silly to just be pure numbers. Why not be a combination of skill plus going where the data is, go where the low hanging fruit is. So to me, without data, you really can't do that, right? You're just all relying on gut.
So what I love about that, and the piece of the story where people just went back to doing the same thing, right? And it really does reinforce the point that if, their manager is probably saying, or your manager was probably saying, you need to be doing this at this time and this and this and this, right? Like, especially in a cold call environment like that, you're probably being managed pretty heavily.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if you start hitting your number,
crush my number.
Oh yeah. Yep. That shit goes out the window.
Not just with inbounds, with other deals too. Like, right. I did my inbounds, I was effective with it.
I bet they could give a shit what your schedule looked like.
No, they fixed the inbound loop is what they ended up doing.
Yeah, exactly. So those guys who didn't want to listen, they didn't realize that, listen, man, you game the system.
I'll go find another, then I go find another shortcut. Dude,
yeah, exactly.
Like without the data and without tracking, like you don't know what that is. It's like, when I look at tools like, sequencing tools, for example, like why would you not be using a sequencing tool? Like how are you going to know what works? Like Dude, all I've done, I built a career off of stealing best practices. And I know the politically correct word is borrowing, but
Sure.
borrowing best practices and adapting them. Step one is start with everybody else's best practices.
Yep.
You have a question, Google it. Don't just start making shit up. Google it.
They're readily available now.
Google YouTube.
Yep.
You have a question? Oh, how do you do this? Google YouTube.
Absolutely.
And then iterate. Don't be some fancy flower and think that you're going to figure out some magic new way.
Yeah.
Like just start with best practices.
Well, and all the sequencers give them to you anyway. Sales loft and outreach
just
and
run
everything.
the play.
I mean, they give you the playbook.
Run the play.
Yeah. Just pop it in there and go. You have to tweak the messaging. That's where the skill part of it comes in, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out how to leverage the messaging.
Yeah, but step one is don't tweak the messaging. Like they built the thing for because it works. I had a boss tell me this. I still tell this story a lot, but a boss who when I started at Career Builder, he told me, I was like right after I left sports. There were 8 people in my training class. I think there was maybe one other person. I hadn't sold anything, and I was just freaking out. I'm like, dude, I know I'm good at sales. What's going on? And he's like, Jake. He pulled me aside. This is my director, not my boss. He pulled me aside. And he listened to some of my calls. He goes, Jake, why aren't you following the script? I go, well, dude, Evan, I am a special flower. I am a genius at sales. And he goes, Jake, do you think we train 1,000 salespeople on something that doesn't work? It's like, do you think we're stupid? I was like, that's a good point. And then I closed 60,000 in new business the next month.
Interesting.
I just read the script. I was like, okay, this question sounds awkward. And then eventually I made the script my own. I learned it. So I'm a big fan of not reinventing the wheel and then building from other people's success.
That's interesting though, because I think a lot of people would think that, right? Like you've had some success in your career. You don't want it to feel stale. You want to make it a natural conversation and this and that. So you automatically have that pushback on the script. Oh, someone's telling me how to do my job type of thing. I like that you're able to just internalize that and say, yeah, you're right. What makes me better than 1,000 other guys who have been through this a million times? But the key takeaway from you is you did make it your own eventually, right?
Yeah, eventually, but he was right. Like there were questions that I just wasn't asking that I should have been asking. There were questions, especially in the discovery and then in the way that I was positioning the product versus what I thought the value prop was. There were ways that if I would have worded it as a deviation of the script, it wouldn't have worked. But instead of just following the very specific ways that they had documented it, it worked.
Got it. Interesting. I like that. That's good. And it's a good reminder, especially, we see that young sellers a lot of times are just kind of put into the hamster wheel, but really owning that piece of the training and that piece of the product knowledge is going to make you better, right? So that when you do get to that point where you are able to make your own personal flavors and adjustments to it, you've got the core down pat, right? I mean, that's probably what the critical piece of it is.
Yeah. And I think, for me too, like, it's like as a consulting firm, it's like nobody should hire us. Like, you just go, I put it all out there for free. Like you can, and I have people who do that, right? Or people that are like really amazing clients who, kind of like will suck it up. And in 2 months, they've kind of like put together a lot of this. And so the reason that like, look, your company exists, we exist is that, a lot of this is implementing it and change management are the hard parts.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of people, if you're an individual looking for best practices, there are plenty of those out there. And I would always suggest starting. I didn't know if this is where we wanted to start the conversation. I kind of just like took it left or right.
It's all good, man.
But I hope that helps.
No, that's great. So let's pivot maybe a little bit into something I've been seeing a lot from you lately, which is just that concept. We were talking a little bit about management and management saying, hey, use the script. Make your dials, whatever it's got to be. What about reps going out and having a personality on social channels?
Yeah.
Things like LinkedIn that you and I know use pretty heavily.
Yeah. I think, look, it is, the word brand, I think is what troubles a lot of people, right? If I'm being candid, I think what people do is they have issues with the word brand. And anytime we hear the word brand, I think this is a lot of this, right? We hear Kim Kardashian, we think narcissistic, we think, being fancy. Why is Josh trying to be fancy? Why is Jake trying to be, and I have people have called it out and said, Jake, look, I didn't get what the hell you were doing. I thard you were just being, kind of a blowhard. Now I kind of have come around. Yeah. And so I think if I want to tweak it a little bit, and I want people to think about all I talk about is be active where your audience is active. And right now, with everything that's going on, face-to-face does not exist anymore. It's dead. It's done, right? Not for forever, but for now.
Yep.
Therefore, the only place that people have to interact with buyers is online.
Yep.
Whether that's LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever the hell it is, that is where people need to be active. The things that most people don't realize, though, is this is not a if you build it, they will come. And I think the issues that I see with a lot of sellers and companies is you have to add more relevant buyers. That's so critical. To have a consistent strategy for adding more relevant buyers to your company profile and to your profile. And you have to produce content. And content doesn't have to be crazy. You don't need to write blog posts, any of that. Text-based posts, talking to your space, talking to your industry.
Yep.
That's not built that, is it building a brand? Sure. But that's not why you're doing it. You're not doing it to be LinkedIn famous. You're not doing it to do any of this shit. You're doing it to be a thought leader in your space the same way that you would speak at an industry event. Mm-hmm. LinkedIn is just an industry event and a networking event 24/7. And so it's important. Like, I would not ever view it as brand. I view it as being a thought leader in your space. And that is always in style and always something that people should be focused on.
Yeah, because people then look to you for education. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what you're doing is offering education. So within the last week, I wanted to try to get more education out into the market, right? For our organization. Same thing we just talked about. People can't meet face-to-face. How do you pivot to digital and things like that? So I'm interviewing, we have 40 consultants. I'm taking 10 minutes to interview every single one of them, posting something, a tip that they give every single morning. And one of our principals had a great thing. She said, listen, revisit your sales offers, right? Don't think of them as sales offers, but offers to educate. And, if you're a financial services company, example, go to your audience and offer them education around what's going to happen in the markets, what's going on, why is there so much volatility, whatever that may be. You have subject matter expertise, you have the know-how, you have all the knowledge internally to help pivot that, create educational based content that's going to build equity, it's going to build goodwill. And then, sometimes down the line, those people are going to be thinking of you. And at the end of the day, this thing is a long game, right? It's not like you're going to start posting stuff on LinkedIn and be closing $1 million deals.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You're fine.
We've got a guest. What's going on, Carson? There you go. All right.
I got two.
All right, take them both. All right.
And hey, one thing I noticed, Josh, the part of this is streaming. It looks like it's streaming on Chorus. Like,
Mm-hmm.
can you tell? What is that?
I don't know. Everything records live, and then it just says live on Chorus. I don't know what that really means.
All right. Yeah. Because obviously I was talking about some sensitive stuff in the beginning that I want to make sure it doesn't stream. So
I'll cut it all out. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No worries. I'll get it off of there.
All right.
So shifting gears a little bit. So what are some of the things, right now more than ever, people are going to need to try to figure out how to drive pipeline.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to be, it's a metrics driven business, and that's kind of the dichotomy of it. But how can you talk about using sequencers and things like that to help drive some of that volume? How do you blend that with the concept of personalization?
Well, it's interesting. What's his name? Are you using Justin's word now? Sequencer?
Yeah. Well, you said it earlier, but so I just used it again.
He said it, it's his word.
Yeah. It was just yesterday I talked to him.
I know it is. And that's why I know you're using it, because I know it's like his whole jam now is this idea of a sequencer. Look, I think what people don't realize is guys, there's no such thing. If you're talking to anybody about automation or a sequencer, you've already lost the game. Mm-hmm. What all these tools are placeholders for activities. And those activities can either have a send all or customize. And in today's world, if they don't have a customize, you're going to lose. Unless you're selling in a market that's hot right now. If I'm a Zoom rep right now, if I work at Zoom, if I work at Microsoft Teams, if I work at Slack, I'm working 24 hours a day in sales. You better be. If I sell video conference, whatever it is, right? WebEx, whatever.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us, like you're going to have to retrain your message. We did a workshop with a client that spent 2 hours with him yesterday and said, okay, here's our main core use case, but also, man, we're really strong at this, and this is really applicable. Let's just pivot all of our outbound. And so that's LinkedIn touch point number one, research their industry and what they do and how they make money. Number two, Number 3, comment and like their post. Number 4 is then send them a DM that talks about like empathy, like real empathy, not this fake pleasantries. Pleasantries and empathies are not the same thing. It's the whole other, I'll talk about that
Yeah,
next.
let's dive into that.
But all 5 of the things I said, you can put in a sequencing tool.
Right.
Those are not
Automatic.
sequencers, automatic. Yeah. They're not the same thing. And whenever I work with my team works with companies, it's one of the first things we talk about is that do not use these tools. Like if you're going to use tools just go use Marketo or HubSpot.
For sure.
Like don't, if you're just sending emails and making follow-up calls, HubSpot can send an email and then create a task in Salesforce. That's easy.
Yep.
So I think that's an important thing is that the modern sequences are containers that are workflows with containers for activities that you can put whatever you want in that container. And that is what we're working with a lot of our clients on is what's the right thing to put in that container today. For sure.
Yeah, I really like that because it does a couple of things. It gives you that structure that you might need as a rep to say, okay, these are the things I need to be doing over and over and over again. But the other thing that it does, which honestly is the bane of most reps' existence, is logging everything, right? You've got it in there. Okay, I went and did my LinkedIn complete. Well, now your dashboard is going to look good for your boss the next morning when they go look at your activity report. Those are the types of things that I like to think about in automation. Because like I said, I hate the metric side of it. That's why I want to use SalesLoft as an example, because I know I could say, all right, I'm going to block out 2 hours to do this. And everything's just going to boom, 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 boom. It's going to be tracked and everything's going to look good.
Yeah, see, I do. For me, I use it for the opposite. I use it for the data so I can get better. My goal is to do this, to create the absolute least amount of customization to create the absolute maximum number of results. And therefore, if I can get to where I can just use custom fields and I can yield the results, I'm going to do that. But I'm going to start really custom. And then I'm going to use the SalesLoft or outreach data to then wean in and wean in and wean in and wean in on what's working and what's not working. And then eventually I'm going to come up with what that message is. And again, if I had these tools, dude, I can't even imagine how much I would have destroyed everyone. Like when I was in AE in like the mid 2000s, if I had a tool like outreach, like if I had a tool like that, I would use only the data to see what's working. And I just iterate. And that's the problem I see is people aren't iterating. They spend all this time to implement the tool. And then they don't even have a person, that they're going to be able to cover it with.
Yeah.
And so that's the issue that I have.
Yeah. And that gets back to that change management process, right? Like, and just, it's not a set it and forget it. It's the same thing in our world. We've been implementing marketing automation for a decade, and it's such a misnomer. The idea of marketing automation, the idea that you can just automate your marketing and do more with less. The reality is someone needs to be there looking at the data, understanding what's going on, changing, pivoting, helping other people understand how to use the tool so that you can get actionable and meaningful data. So it's a very similar concept. It's just, the sales automation has come, it's a decade later.
That's exactly it. Yep. Identical. Yeah, and marketing does a really good job of doing this, or a better job, right? Of like just having that continuous optimization A/B test mindset. We don't have that enough in sales. We don't have that. We don't have enough of that A/B mindset, that scientific method type testing.
Do you think that's one of those things? We talk a lot about sales and marketing alignment. I know it's kind of an old topic, but it's as relevant as ever, right? And do you think that's one of those things that could help bridge that gap, bringing some of that mindset from marketing over to sales?
Yeah, but you need someone to own it. And I mean, look, obviously that's why, like why we have a business, right? We've done now, I'm probably close. I'm going to guess we've done over 200 now SalesLoft and outreach deployments or overhauls, like probably 220 now. And, it's because you need to have this growth mindset, this continuous optimization. And in sales, we're used to, what's the one technology we're used to setting up? Salesforce. And once you set up Salesforce, it's kind of done. Yep. And it's a mindset. And sales operations teams how many times do you think they've implemented one of these tools? Once, twice?
Yeah, maybe.
There's probably 3% who've done it 3 times.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's not the DNA. Our DNA in sales right now is not rapid iteration. It's long processes, doing this, not necessarily that experimentation. I'm guessing a lot of sales leaders didn't get A's and B's in chemistry or biology. I did. Like, maybe that's it. I loved chemistry growing up.
I think that is it.
So I had like this natural hypothesis, scientific, I like the science fair and all that stuff too. So I don't know. Maybe that helped me.
I think it's unique. It makes you a rare breed. I'm definitely not that guy. So I'm the other one struggling with all
but
of this.
I like the other side of it too, right? Yeah. I like the humans, but I like the human science just as much, right? I like the psychology behind what people do, equally as much. It's also just as interesting to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's dive into that psychology. You mentioned the concept of pleasantries versus empathy. And I think empathy is for the last 12 months, been one of the biggest buzzwords in business, not just sales. Yeah. We keep seeing it pop up everywhere, but I don't know that people really know what it means. So I'd love to get your take on that.
I'll give my definition, right? And I think, I don't know. Sometimes people say my definition, sympathy, and that's empathy or whatever it is. But for me, hold on, let me make sure this is working. Yeah. So for me, I think, I'll give you my 2 cents on it. Hold on. Okay. All right. Hold on. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still there.
Okay. All right. It started to short out on me. So I'll tell you my take on this, and then I'm going to tell you a funny stat too. So then you can choose to listen to it or not. So my take on empathy is that right now in like this COVID-19 world, people are saying that be empathetic and acknowledge what's happening. They're like, sure. Oh, people are going through a tough time, etc. I'm like, my friends, like, that's pleasantries. That's hope all is well. That's how are things? What's the weather like? Like, that just shows that you're a human, that you like have some idea of like what's happening. Empathy. And this is what the heart of sales is I know what you are going through, because I know enough about your industry. I know enough about your job title to know how everything is affecting you. That is real empathy. And what sales leaders, I posted on this the other day, I think it's sad, or I think it maybe was on Twitter. It is sad to me. And I feel like I've failed somehow too. Like, that right now we're having to train reps how to be empathetic and understand that empathy is not, hey, crazy times, right? Hey, yeah, that's not empathy. That is pleasantries and a realization of reality of what's happening. And so what we have to understand is real empathy has been the same from day one to now. How well do you know your buyer? How well do you know what they're going through right now? And if you didn't put in the work to know your buyer before, that's why you don't know what they're going through right now. That's why you're having to put out this generic shit that's not working. Yeah. And that's why, I mean, like, look, for us, like we're again, like, I'm around the clock now working with our clients, new clients on, what's happening to modernize this and to know what people are going through. And so my advice is you cannot have an empathetic sales team if everyone on your sales team doesn't know who your buyer is. What do they actually do? What is their job? How do they not the fluff. What do these guys do? What do they actually care about? And then what's going on in their industry and how is it being impacted by everything that's happening? If you're an amazing seller, I was doing that since day one.
Absolutely.
So I didn't have this. I'm like, empathy. What are you guys talking about? That is it. The interesting part is I'm extremely good at that. I'm not good at like other empathy, right? Like, I did Skills Finder, like Now Discover Your Strengths, if you know that one.
Yeah, the Strengths Finder, yeah.
And then if you pay the extra money, you get all 34 or 35 of your strengths. Empathy is dead last for me. So like, but what I'm really good at is helping people's business. And I know that is empathy. And so whatever Strengths Finder says, I really don't care, right? It's more that I'm oblivious to things, I think is why it says that. Sure. But I am extremely good at getting to the heart of what people are going through. And so, and then finding creative ways to help them through that. Yeah. So I think that is what I'm talking about, that right now, and it's not just right now, this is forever. Real empathy is understanding what someone's actually going through. And that's a relation of their job and their industry and how those two things play together. So that's my take.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting because, it's the what's in it for me. WIIFM is a station that never goes out of style.
Whiffam. Brian, is that Brian Tracy?
It might be, yeah.
I'll Google it. While we're working on this.
But it got me to thought. So, Andrea, our CMO, you met her last time you were out, and we were having an interesting discussion yesterday. And everyone, okay, well, our annual conference got canceled, so it's going to be a digital annual conference, right? And that doesn't mean you're showing any sort of understanding of the buyer and what their needs are. The whole idea is that think about who goes to your annual conference. You've either got the user, right? So users are there for community and education, typically. And then you've got executives. And those are the people that you either want to sell more stuff to or sell new stuff to. And they're usually there because you promise them some fucking cool experience, right? Or they want to network with their peers. The higher you get up in an organization, the lonelier it gets. There's nobody else with shared experiences with you. So it's that idea of getting together with people who share your experiences. So that's something that you could take to an executive audience now and try to create that shared experience, whether it's through mentorship or groups of, vice presidents of marketing, CMOs, whatever it may be, facilitating that type of thing that is getting at what they're going through versus just, oh, well, our event is canceled, come to the digital version. Well, it's not the same thing for them.
That's right. Well, I mean, why have events existed? It's for sales teams to go and make money, marketing teams to generate leads.
For sure.
You think really like they're like, oh, we're how many of these companies are 501c3s?
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
So if they're all going to make money, I mean, I think that's what she's getting. I actually saw that post too, and at first it resonated with me. We're doing some stuff. I'm gonna be experimenting with some stuff next month. I'm gonna try to. The key is, here's the key that I think. It's how do you make it feel like an event digitally? And I refuse to think that the answer is it's not possible. I refuse to think that's a possibility. Maybe I'm delusional, but I think there's some things you can do. And so we're thinking of different ways to do some paired up networking, during breaks.
Right.
Hey, so speaker one goes on, we pair up some people via the chat or ahead of time.
Right.
And we've been doing that in all of our virtual workshops too that we're doing with companies right now. And so it's like, how do you create some of that? And I think you can do it. But I think, we're a couple of weeks away from being on the other side of all the Zoom stuff. People doing that. Brian Tracy did say with them though, and it's WWIFM. And his thing was, what's everyone's favorite radio station?
Yeah.
WIIFM.
That's right.
But that's it. So I think, look, I've got no problem. Yes, digital event away. You have to do what you have to do, especially as a marketer. For my marketers out there, organic LinkedIn. Organic LinkedIn. The reason your posts suck and you're not getting any traction is because you keep resharing posts and you keep resharing articles because you think it's helping SEO and it's not.
Yeah.
And like, I think the marketers are going to win right now that their budget gets slashed from 50 a month to 10 or 5 is the marketers that realize if you get smart on organic LinkedIn, you can get that same amount of impact every month. I can go and generate, like I generate from my post the equivalent this year. It'll be higher. It'll be closer to $1 million. Like I will generate over $1 million in free advertising based on views and CPMs this year, just from my organic posts. And I'm telling you, everyone in your sales team, everyone organically can do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like totally marketers have got to wake up to this shit.
The concept of trying to make, and I don't want to dismiss that completely, but the concept of making a digital event feel like a real event. Let me ask you this. How many times in the last week have you gotten on a virtual happy hour with your friends just to say, hey, and have a drink?
Not with my friends. I'm doing one tonight with somebody for the first time. I went and tuned in to a couple buddies of mine who did one last Thursday. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the norm for a little bit. I mean, I guess it's better than nothing. Like, shit, I don't know, man.
Well, my point is people are clamoring for connection right now.
Yeah, I got to show you. I said this. I said this in the beginning of March. I said with all these events being canceled that we're going to start to do these happy hours. And this guy's like, nobody will do a virtual happy hour. I'm like, told you.
Yeah, man. I mean, my kids, we've already set up Zoom calls for my kids to see their friends from school.
Have you really? That's smart.
I've done that with all 3 of my kids. I've had, while they were on, we did a multiple screen time, FaceTime call with the parents. So we're drinking bourbons in the backyard.
All right.
Together. And, my buddies from the office, who I don't see every day anymore, grab the drink after work. So, people do want to talk to people. So to your point, I think there is an opportunity to make that feel more human digitally.
And forget it. The market, here's the thing for anyone. The market tells you if it works or not.
Yeah.
If people show up, they're into it. If they don't, then they're not into it. And I think, so don't let the judgment or other people, everyone's doing happy hours. Dude, not everyone's doing happy hours. We just started doing this.
Exactly.
Not everyone's doing virtual. So, the market will tell you if people are saturated with this or not, for sure.
And if you understand your buyer and what they care about, then you're going to send the right message. If you're just doing it to do it, who cares?
It's insane, dude. We did a webinar. We did something last week. Literally on Tuesday, we're like, yeah, we should do this. Then we did it on Wednesday. We had 250 people sign up. Like, what?
That's amazing.
Like, what is happening? Like, what, like, how is this even possible? Right. So people are definitely clamoring for stuff to do. And I think the key is, like, just like in anything, the winners will be people who are good.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
For me, like, I know that because we're adapting, man. I'm pushing my team harder than ever to like scrap, look, decks that we were working through with our clients from a month ago. I'm like, dude, throw that shit in the trash.
No,
Like
good.
that is not what's happening. Like we've got to evolve. And so I'm pushing my team really hard, and we're trying to share a lot of that, online too, for sure.
Yeah, no, I dig it. So one other concept I wanted to talk about with you as it comes to the data and learning from the data is I saw you made a big push on LinkedIn connecting, because you said one of the key things is to add people within your target audience. And you're a big proponent of blind connecting, and you're doing some A/B testing on that.
Yes.
Talk to me a little about what you found and what do you think's working?
Yeah. So I won't belabor it. And again, everyone's like, well, you're a CEO or whatever. Well, my title, the interesting part, my headline doesn't say title. Doesn't say CEO. So I think that's important for people. The step one is a main reason why people aren't getting very good connection requests is their title sucks. Do you think somebody wants to connect with a senior account executive?
Yeah.
If I use president of digital marketing at a Fortune 1000, blind connect request with me, and it says, John Smith, you're in a shitty picture from your wedding, and it says senior account executive. Ooh, can't wait to connect with John. He's going to add a lot of value. He's going to add so much value to my network. Josh, I can't wait. I just seriously can't wait. Right. Or same person, John gets a better picture, and it's not a picture of him and his boys at a wedding. And John's headline is like, partnering with digital marketers to help to increase, I'm making this stuff up, right? Increase effectiveness of, omni-channel spend in difficult times. Okay. Now I'm more interested in connecting. Right. So for me, and here's the math, like everyone should just do the math. The math's going to be different for you. And like again, obviously, because of these times, like, it's tough to know like what's as valid, but here's what I can tell you. I think people are going to be more open to connecting, right? We're going through this together, all of that, right? But if you change your headline, people are going to connect with you more. So mine's shaping the future of the modern sales and marketing organization, et cetera. If you're in sales and marketing, you might look at that and go, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Right? Like I'll connect. So for me, blind connect rate, basically I picked a company that had 1,000 sales managers just to make sure that, it's like something. And then no connection rate, 66% accept rate. 66 out of 100 managers accepted with no note. And what's most important is it took me 12 minutes. Mm-hmm. It took me 12 minutes to reach out and try to connect with 100 people.
That's high impact for the time.
12.
I love it.
Or it takes you 5 minutes to customize everyone. Mm-hmm. So why not instead blind connect request, wait a week and a half, unconnect request, and then go custom to the people you still want to get in front of. Yeah. That's the play. The play is simple. Blind connect request, because why the hell not? Why waste your time? Even if your connect rate is 30%, why waste your time?
It's 30% more.
It's 30%.
Yeah.
So go do your 30%, unconnect, and then personalize with the ones that matter.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the play.
So I wonder, you mentioned sales leaders, right? Is your target audience for the most part?
Mm-hmm. CEOs, sales leaders, marketing leaders. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Because this is a hypothesis with no data behind it whatsoever, is that salespeople will more willingly connect with people than maybe heads of marketing will, but it's just
of course, because marketing is marketing in particular, marketers are the most saturated. I don't even know how many marketing technologies exist now. Geez. I mean, like
7,500, something like
that's what I was going to get. I was going to guess like 7,000, 10,000, something like that. Yeah. So I mean, they're just inundated. And that's kind of my point. That's why if you want them to connect, you need to stand out. You can't be a senior account executive at, ad roll or whatever. You got to be, I work with organizations to optimize their ad spend by an average of 5% on their largest campaigns. Okay. Right. That's somebody I want to talk to, not senior account executive at ad roll.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. I think the title thing is a very actionable thing people can just do.
So it's that headline, you just change your little headline. Because that's what people see. They see that like, they just see that headline. They see your picture and they see a headline. That's it.
I haven't changed mine in a while. I wonder if it's time.
Yeah.
Mine's MarTech. We have a problem.
Yeah. You could try again, this goes back to the data side of me. Test that shit.
Test it.
I'm at 66%. That's good enough for me.
That's pretty solid.
Like it's a high enough ratio where, I don't know. There's that, what is that called? The curve, like the adoption curve, right?
Oh,
yeah. The adoption curve. So like, if I'm at here, like to get the extra 30%, if it means I got to put in this much effort,
it's not
customize, it ain't worth it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right, man. Well, listen, what else should people be thinking about?
Yeah. I mean, look, and I know a lot of people following this are, marketers too. I talked a little bit about it. I really think that, empowering versus controlling your sales org is the future of marketing. That, if I look at every sales or I look at every company, you could have a company with 1,000 employees. I'm going to give you a very tangible example. SAP. I did a post about this and I think it opened a lot of people's eyes. SAP as a company, corporate, right? Posted about 1,000 times last year, right? Or I'm sorry, a little over 100 times last year and got like, a few 100,000 impressions. 1,000 people with the title of sales account executive, 1,000 people posted in 1 month last month and got millions of impressions.
Wow.
So my friends, the data is there. And it's not about pumping out SAP propaganda, which is what marketing teams I think are struggling with.
Yep.
Instead, it's about how do you enable them to talk about their industry and their space and be experts in it, just like I talked about real empathy. It's how do you enable them to talk about real empathy and to say, hey, you're going through this. Let's not talk about SAP. Let's talk about these things. And guess what? They're going to put 2 and 2 together. Johnny works at SAP. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Let's reach out. So that would be my advice to marketers, that you have millions and millions, or, big companies, you have hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in free advertising, because the getting on LinkedIn is like Facebook and Instagram in 2014. You can get organic reach. You can't get it on any other platform. TikTok's the only one where you can get organic reach because they'll put you on the For You page. Gotcha. And so unless you're, TikTok's viable for you, then I would be TikTok and LinkedIn. But if you want more bang for your buck, like if you can unleash that power, I mean, again, millions of dollars in free advertising. And I think that's an important, especially in times like this.
Yeah, it's huge. And it feeds into something, that comes back to run a clean cycle, right? Like that is the beginning of that cycle, and offering industry specific education and value so that when they get on the phone with you, that's what you're going to do. It's a long game. Again, I always use this example, but the first lead I ever spoke to on day 1 at Lead MD 6 years ago, I closed on my 5th anniversary. Just
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you're building these connections. You're connecting with relevant buyers. I'm not saying you're blindly connecting with Susan Smith in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying you're connecting with VPs of digital marketing. You will take that with you forever. And that's it's such an important point. And right now, if you look at again, marketers, you can request every 3 hours, 25 new people to follow your company page. That's brand new. It's less than a month old.
Yeah.
We did a beta 3 months ago. Now they've fully released it. You can request 25 people, wait 3 hours, request. So a marketer's every day, you could add 50 new buyers to hear your company message.
Yeah, it's huge.
50, so, there's just so much value laying on LinkedIn. And it's because, we consistently put social media managers with not a lot of experience because we treat social like a throwaway in B2B. And my friends, I get why you did it, but LinkedIn's changed. It used to be that way. It's not anymore. Now it can drive a lot of business. We'll easily drive, multiple millions of dollars in business from organic LinkedIn inbound this year. Easily.
Love it.
And we're a small consulting firm, right? So get on the train. Or wherever your people are. If they're not on LinkedIn, then go
where they are. Yeah, I think that's the point. Yeah, go where your buyers are. Always the key. Go to where your buyers are.
That's it.
All right, Jake. Well, how do people find you? Where do you want to go? So LinkedIn, website?
LinkedIn's good. So you can check me out on LinkedIn. It's just Jake Dunlap. So /Jake Dunlap. You can always look. I am super active. If you DM me, I will always do my best to get back to you with any questions that you have. You can always Twitter's Jake T Dunlap. That guy he said he wanted $4,000 for Jake Dunlap. I told him to pound sand. And I think those are 2 good places where I'm pretty active right now. Instagram, to Jake _Dunlap_. That guy won't even sell it to me. Doesn't even post. But I think those are some good spots. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, I'm pretty active there, and you can get at me that way. And always definitely check out Skaled, SKALED.com. If your marketing or sales organizations is looking for new ways to modernize, for sure.
Right on, man. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
All right. I enjoyed it as well, man. Appreciate it, Josh.